Just wrapping this wood panel with some orange or kind of cream colored linen here. And I'm just going to fold these corners in a very specific way to give them a neutral read. So this is the exposed sides of the painting, and this is one of the colors that I consider when making a painting. This actually is part of my color palette, the side of the painting, the linen I decide on. This is my assortment of linens that I tend to choose from. Most of them come from Lithuania. I buy them by the yard, and it's just my selection to choose from and bounce off for my color palettes. This piece is kind of like how I was making paintings previously to my mold making, and it was more about the flow of inks, their convergence with other nice softer washed out pastel backgrounds. And it was important to allow the paint to flow off of the canvas. I wasn't so concerned about damming it up and trapping it so much as I am now. And I was also experimenting with a lot of sepia inks and black inks at the time as well. This is another piece I made where I dammed up the sides and essentially built up a mold around the sides of the piece. And then I also sectioned it off and made smaller molds so I can pour these little channels. My color decisions are primarily influenced by my crystal and mineral collection for the most part. I also take a lot of cues from nature in general. Dead leaves, washed out desert colors and desert landscapes, soft pastel, beach tones. A lot of cues from nature in general. As I said, I kind of get a lot of my ideas from my mineral collection and my crystal collection. This is a lemon citrine chrysoprase. Sometimes I get obsessed with the textures and the combination of colors and the natural formations, and I attempt to replicate them or at least use them as inspirations for my paintings, as jumping off points. These are all paintings I made by building a structural mold around them and pouring a base of one color or other and essentially going back into it. This is a more current piece that I've made. Similar situation as these, a little more bold on the background color to give it more contrast and a little more translucence within the pockets. These are my resin cubes. This was the first one I made, fluoropyrite cube. Again, pretty much direct inspiration from my mineral collection. I even incorporated bits of pyrite. This one also had some turquoise in there. A few layers of that, but this is another cube I made. This one is Aurora cube, but it's very important for the way light travels and the way the layers are bouncing off of each other to get it to actually look like an aurora, but I felt pretty good about that. It was an interesting cube that I made as far as the process goes. I wanted to challenge myself a little bit and make molds within the mold. Essentially just started making various layers and curating various colors together in there. So this is Sunset Cube. I was trying to make it somewhat similar to a nice warm sunset here in Pasadena. When I make these, I essentially make them upside down, so I have to think upside down and backwards for the end result. So this is a smaller, more opaque cube that I made. Generally speaking, I really like to utilize light passing through the cube. I also was really attracted to the way the skin looked formally on this one, even though it wasn't quite necessarily as translucent as the others. So when I actually create these cubes, I use a base of plastic sheeting, as you see here on the table here, just thin plastic sheeting, and that essentially doesn't really bond with the resin that I use, so I'm able to release it from that. Though while it's curing and heating and the liquids are essentially settling in there, it starts to wrinkle and twist and just kind of essentially react to the pressure and the heat, and then eventually it solidifies that way, and you have this liquid flow of where the plastic was being manipulated by the elements, and it's essentially frozen in time that way. Here you can see the sun's rays dancing around inside the cubes. Get a broader sense of the spectrum in there. This is the Super Cube. It is the largest cube that I've made by far. I believe I poured it in approximately 11 layers, 10 or 11 layers. And you can see each layer on the side there. And again, this is all made upside down. This piece, I believe, weighs approximately 380 to 400 pounds, according to the weight of the resin poured in each layer. But each layer takes approximately 24 hours to dry before I can pour the next one.